It's been an amazing 2 days for me, just getting to reconnect with many of you, to see some of the new innovations, to hear about how customers are using Liferay. And as I wrap up the symposium, I just wanted to share again about Liferay's vision, which those of you who have been with Liferay for a long time know very well. I mentioned at the beginning of the symposium that we're celebrating our 15-year anniversary, and it's been a great year looking back at our accomplishments, but also looking forward into the future. And I realized that when we just say it's been 15 years, it's easy to kind of just think, oh yeah, it's been a long time, and it's fine. But actually, it wasn't until I realized that 15 years ago was 2004. And I thought, man, that's a really long time ago. And just to get us in the mindset of where we were back then, I thought I'd show a few comparisons between what life was like back then and what it's like now. If you're like in your 20s, you don't even know what this is, right? This is a thing called Napster, and we used to use it to listen to music on the internet. And back when you had to do things like use dial-up, or if you were really lucky, you had a DSL connection, you would fire up Napster, and then people all around the world were sharing files, and you would download these files, and you can see that it would take an hour, sometimes it would take half an hour. And if you were really lucky, you found one with a variable bitrate, because that would get you a really high quality sound with not so much space. So this is what 15 years ago looked like. Meanwhile, today, you just open a browser, you go on YouTube, and immediately you can listen to music not only from all around the world, but now Google's going to give you suggestions using artificial intelligence of what else you should be listening to. In the technology world, things have changed a lot too. If you're old enough to know what this is, I feel really bad for you, but this is kind of the old architecture diagrams we used to make on Visio and PowerPoint, long before Google Slides and Keynote. And we were talking about service-oriented architectures. We were using WSDL, and we were generating SOAP interfaces. It was all a big mess, right? Now, if I go on Google and I search for DXP cloud architecture, I get this. The world is so much more beautiful today than it was 15 years ago. So in 2003, that's kind of when Liferay was getting started. Gartner was doing its Magic Quadrants back then as well. And there were so many companies selling portals, companies you probably haven't heard of, like Hummingbird and Broad Vision, Siebel Systems. None of these were open source. These were all commercial companies. And 15 years ago, Gartner couldn't afford color in their Magic Quadrant, so it was all black and white. And in that time, there was this guy, Mark Fleury. You may remember, he was kind of this rebel guy. And he came on the scene, and he created this company called JBoss, which was an open source app server. And it was so popular that IBM got really scared, and they decided to acquire this other open source company called Glucode to try to compete with them. So that's what we were. That's the market we were coming into. Liferay, we were just like 4 guys in California. Bryan Cheung had been working on the code for like 4 years, building the open source community. And, we thought we were really cool. We built our portal, and, now I look at it and it's very embarrassing, but back then, we thought this was awesome. I don't know if you could tell, but that menu on the right, if you would hover over it, it would go, bah, right? And we would just sit there and keep making the menu fly out because we were so proud of this. And I think one of the biggest things that's changed over the last 15 years is that even though this is obviously much better and more interesting as a product than what we had in 2004, we're constantly asking ourselves the question, how can we make this even better? And I think that's one of the things that we've learned. Here in the Italian market, we've also seen a lot of growth, and you can see from the first symposium to this one how much has changed. And at the same time, I think a lot of things have stayed the same, right? And while it's nice to have the lights and the fancy branding and everything, some of the feedback is that there are still things that we can improve, and maybe we can invest a little bit more in the food for our events. Over 15 years, the market, the world has seen a lot of ups and downs. We've had some of the greatest American presidents, and then some of the most interesting ones over that 15-year period. The stock market has also gone through a lot of ups and downs. And I thought it would be interesting to see how Liferay grew in the midst of a lot of this market turbulence. Back in 2004, when we started the company, we were really still in the midst of recovering from the first dot-com crash, right? So we started Liferay as an open source project in 2000. The dot-com crash happened, and that probably really helped us actually, because organizations were looking to open source to provide not only open and free alternatives to proprietary software, but also more affordable ones. And we started growing the business. For the first 5 years, we were a services company, really. And then around the time of the financial crisis, we thought, well, we're seeing a lot of other open source companies move to an enterprise model. They're building partners and they're not doing the projects themselves. Should we try the same thing? And we were really scared because in the midst of this financial crisis, we weren't sure what would happen to Liferay. But we introduced the subscription, and that really has been the thing that allowed us to grow and scale and become the size of company that we are today. And now, within the last couple of years, we're no longer just a portal company or a DXP company, but we're now treading into commerce and into the cloud and into analytics. I remember actually in 2007 that Sequoia Capital, one of the most famous venture capitalists in San Francisco, in the Silicon Valley, they created this PowerPoint deck which was warning their portfolio companies that hard times were ahead. This was in 2007. The stock market was kind of off of its peak. The Lehman Brothers bankruptcy happened. All of that was going on, right? And they sent this email saying, all of you guys need to think about profitability. You need to conserve cash. You need to be really careful who you hire. And you need to make your money last as long as possible. And at Liferay, we never got investors. We thought, well, that's great because those are the things that we've always been doing. And so we thought it was really neat to see that the philosophy with which we had built our company was the one that these really smart VCs from Silicon Valley were also telling their companies about. When I look back on the last 15 years, I have had some of the best memories and experiences of my life, and so many of them are connected to the great people that we have met, that we've hired, that we've worked with to build this company together. What I'm most proud of when I look at the Liferay that we have in 2019 is that even today, we have amazing people that love to work at Liferay, who are happy with what they do, I hope. Please tell me if there are things that we can change. But whether it's in Spain or in Brazil or in Italy, there is just this joy that is infused in our company that just doesn't seem to go away. And even in this event, at the Italy Symposium, where we have the cloud team, a lot of them from Brazil, and we have some of our friends and colleagues from Spain coming in to support this event together, I think you get just a taste of the spirit of Liferay. So, what's coming next? Well, I have to say that for me personally, it's been, the best 15 years of my life. I wouldn't trade it for anything, and it's been a fun ride. I've had so many drinks with you guys, so much karaoke, so many conversations, so many selfies, and so many symposium talks. But unfortunately, I have to announce that it's all coming to an end because I've been acquired. Yes, this year I have entered into a merger with my wife, Kathy, and so I can't guarantee that I'm going to be, just as energetic and present for the next 5, 10, and 15 years. But so far, it looks like the merger is going well. And, she's been very supportive, actually, all joking aside. And I believe that, you're going to see more of her in the years to come. One of the results of our merger and acquisition is actually that we are also getting ready to launch a new product. So we expect it to be on time, but maybe not on budget. We'll see. And as I think about the future and the world that my future child will be born into, there's a lot of uncertainty. Some people are looking at the stock market, things like WeWork, and how they had to cancel their IPO, and they're wondering, what's going to happen? Are we headed for a recession? Are there hard times ahead? And for Liferay, this is, also a concern. We wonder, as the landscape, the market has changed so much, as we compete now with not only Adobe and Salesforce, but Sitecore and Acquia. We want to keep doing this, but we wonder, are we going to be able to compete? And people have always asked us, what's in Liferay's future? They see the headlines. They see companies like Sitecore, Episerver, Acquia, and WordPress, and they're getting these crazy valuations, $1 billion, $3 billion. And they wonder, well, Liferay, why don't you guys go down that same path? And when I see headlines like this, my first thought is like, wow, it's not so hard to become a billionaire. It seems like there's so many of them out there. But more importantly, this is the headline that I like to see. I love the fact that I get to come here every year and I get to hear the stories of what Liferay has been able to do in the lives of our community. I love to just see the innovations. I love to see the customers that are becoming part of the Liferay family. And they're never going to write this headline, but this is what is most dear and important to all of us here at Liferay. So we're going to keep doing this. We're going to keep releasing new products. We're going to keep fostering innovation and sponsoring it in the community. And we're going to keep adding value to customers. And I'll just close with this thought. One last piece of news that I saw this year in the Financial Times, that in the US there's this group of CEOs called the Business Roundtable. And they said that, well, you know what, maybe there's more to running a company than just maximizing shareholder value. Maybe we should care about our customers, our employees, the people in our partner ecosystem, and the communities where we do business. And when I read this, I thought, great. Just like when I saw the Sequoia slide deck, I thought, well, here are some people who are starting to think some of the same things as Liferay. Because when you look at Liferay's website, when we say what we want to do for the next 5, 10, and 15 years, it's exactly this. We want to build this business. We want to make technology useful. And we want to invest in the communities where we do business so that all of us can reach the full potential to serve other people. And I think we saw just a glimpse of that in the last 2 days. and I'm very confident that we'll keep doing that together for the next 15 years. Thanks very much.